Okay, so I guess because the type of recording it is, it cuts itself off only after a little while. So what I'm doing is this is part, I think it's part 5 um, of the curriculum.org thing under the resources section of servability. So what this is this is a facilitator's discussion guide here. And this is its content. So when you press that link, it takes you to curriculum.org /SAE -EN /docs /facilitator %27S %20 discussion %20 guide %20 V3 %20 parentheses 2008-11-04 and parentheses .pdf or curriculum.org /SAE -EN /docs /facilitator %27S %20 discussion %20 guide %20 V3 %20 parentheses 2008-11-04 end parentheses .pdf, which brings you to the facilitator's discussion guide to the e-learning module servability, entitled Servability: Transforming Ontario's Customer Service. Welcome to the, actually I'm going to bump that up a little bit. Let's see if we can zoom it, make it bigger, make it easier for you to read along with me. Okay, let's see if that works. Focus, and here we are. Welcome to the Facilitator's Guide for Servability: Transforming Ontario's Customer Service. This guide can help facilitators, trainers, and managers in planning and facilitating a learning session on serving customers with disabilities and be useful in working with the e-learning module, which is the one we just finished. Servability e-learning module. Note that this guide is part of the course entitled Servability: Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, end quote. The end user agreement and copyright rules apply to any documents, resources, materials that form part of the course, including this guide. See the end user agreement for more information. Customer Service Standard. The Customer Service Standard, Ontario Regulation 429/07, came into force January 1st, 2008. Standard applies to all organizations, both public and private, which provide goods and services in Ontario and have one or more employees. So there's that dichotomy again. Standard applies to all organizations, both public and private, which provide goods or services in Ontario and have one or more employees. Customer Service Standard requires service providers to train staff on customer service for people with disabilities. This training must be given to everyone in an organization who deals with members of the public and other third parties. Training must also be given to everyone who develops policies, procedures, and practices about the provision of goods and services to the public or other third parties. This includes management and senior leaders of an organization, even though they may not be directly involved in providing goods or services to people with disabilities. Other staff members to be trained include employees, volunteers, agents or contractors, and others who could reasonably be expected to interact with the public on your behalf or influence the development of policies, practices, and procedures. Customization. To make this learning more meaningful, it is recommended that you customize this content to your particular service. For example, create customer service scenarios unique to your service sector. Think about your service areas may not be accommodating customers with disabilities. Ask if there is any public and customer feedback that you can review to draw upon your preparations. Preparation checklist. 1. As the facilitator, ensure that you have reviewed and completed the course yourself. There are a number of compliance assistant resources that would be useful to review. These can be downloaded from www.access.ca or from the resources section of the Servability. Copyright Queen's Printer for Ontario 2008 Resources section of the e-course Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, published by the Accessibility Directorate of Ontario Ministry of Community and Social Services. 2. It is recommended that you print out and review any additional material mentioned in the module, such as the tip sheets on welcoming customers with disabilities that are available on www.accessN.ca. 3. Your preparation should aim to create an event that is a model of accessibility. Check the training room you are going to use ahead of time to ensure it is fully accessible, and check if employees taking your session need any accommodation. This web page provides a guide on how to hold accessible meetings. www.mcss.gov.on.ca/mcss/how/how-to_meeting.htm. 4. Ensure that accommodations for participants with disabilities have been arranged ahead. 5. Print and organize your handouts for distribution at your session. Sample agenda for the facilitated session. Activity: break the ice and test your awareness. Outcome: welcome participants, creating a relaxed atmosphere. Timing: 5 minutes. Test your awareness is the activity. Participants conduct a self-evaluation of attitudes and awareness of the experiences of people with disabilities using awareness quizzes contained in resources section of this e-learning course. That's the outcome, expected outcome. Timing is 10 minutes. Activity: facilitated discussion. Outcome is discussion and learning based on the servability course. Timing: 1 hour. Activity: provide handouts. Outcome: distribute any handouts. Timing: 5 minutes. Activity: closing. Outcome: participants evaluate their learning. Timing is 5 minutes. Total time: 1.25 hours. Points to convey. Removing barriers. A major barrier for people with disabilities is attitudes. Removing physical barriers is a start and can be the easiest barrier to remove. Building accessibility into the life and operation of an organization can help avoid costly accessibility mistakes or the creation of unintentional barriers. Statistics. About 1 in 7, or 1.85 million Ontarians, has a disability. Over 47% of people over age 65 have disabilities. As the general population ages, the number of people with disabilities will increase. Copyright Queen's Printer for Ontario 2008, page 2, Resources section of the e-course Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, published by the Accessibility Directorate of Ontario Ministry of Community and Social Services. Spending power. Customers with disabilities form a significant consumer group with spending power of 21 to 25 billion a year, according to the Royal Bank of Canada. People with disabilities like to eat out, travel, work, and enjoy retirement. 75% of people with disabilities in Canada, Europe, and the United States are physically and financially able to travel. Seniors and people with disabilities will represent 20 to 25% of the Canadian recreation, retail, entertainment, workplace, and housing marketplaces in the next 10 years and beyond. Employment opportunities. People with disabilities are an untapped labor market potential. Source: Statistic Canada's Participation Activity Limitation Service, or PALS 2001. Tips for facilitators. A facilitator's role is not to comment on the input received from others or to judge, but to set a context where people communicate candidly. Work to create an atmosphere conducive to learning and where people feel comfortable discussing and sharing. Many people may have had ideas or questions about people with disabilities, and this is an opportunity to raise them and get clarification. In this way, you, the facilitator, are helping to build the way to a more inclusive society. People learn in different ways, and some participants may have disabilities that need to be accommodated in their learning. Some people think in pictures, for example, and need visual aids and demonstrations. Others prefer listening closely and writing. Still others need to experience and know what it feels like to absorb new learning. Remind participants that attitudes towards people with disabilities can be based on what some people believe the human experience should be like. Everyone is unique, and life experiences and lessons are not based on stereotypes. It is important to break down barriers, physical or otherwise, to give everyone an equal opportunity for living their potential. Evaluate your group's knowledge and understanding of customers with disabilities. How much do they know about disabilities? How much do they know about serving customers with disabilities? What would be some common perceptions about people with disabilities? How knowledgeable are they on the rights of people with disabilities? Build strengths and understanding. And again, bottom page 3, copyright Queen's Printer for Ontario 2008, resource section of the e-course Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, published by the Accessibility Directorate of Ontario, Ministry of Community and Social Services. So under the heading, Build on Strengths and Understanding, point, pose questions that generate and stimulate discussions. This will help people examine attitudes that they or others around them may have about customers with disabilities. Acknowledge and value the different experiences and values of each person at the session and respond accordingly. Set ground rules. To keep the facilitated session on track and on time, you might want to establish some ground rules. Example of the guidelines. Ensure cell phones, pagers, and BlackBerry devices are turned off. One person speaks at a time. Inform the group that everyone is to have an opportunity to share experiences and information. No one individual should dominate the session. State, if there are questions, please ask. I may not have the answer immediately, but I can try and find it for you. Also remind participants to respect confidentiality and privacy. What is said in this room stays in this room. Oops. Okay. Content for discussion and learning. Bottom page 4. Copyright Queen's Printer for Ontario 2008. Resources section of the e-course Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, published by the Accessibility Directorate of Ontario, Ministry of Community and Social Services. The following scenario was mentioned in the decision makers section of Servability. The scenario can be used as a test for discussing and learning. Daphne met her friend Justin for lunch at a small neighborhood restaurant. When the waitress noticed Justin's guide dog, she said, "I'm sorry, but because we serve food, your dog will have to stay outside." Which of the following statements is true? A, the waitress was right. Service animals are not allowed anywhere food is prepared or served. B, the waitress must let Justin keep his guide dog with him in the restaurant. Although another law prevents animals from going where food is prepared, it makes an exception for service dogs in areas where the food is served or sold. C, the waitress was just following a restaurant's policy. The dogs are not permitted. It doesn't matter what the law says. B is correct, and there are a few more points to remember about serving a customer with service animals. Speak directly to your customer and don't treat the animal as a pet. Avoid touching or talking to service animals. They're working and have to stay focused. Avoid making assumptions about the animal. Not all service animals wear special collars or harnesses. If you're not sure whether the animal is a pet or service animal, just ask your customer. You can ask for a letter verifying that this is a service animal. Normally you can tell. Encourage discussion and learning. Here are some sample questions based on the module to encourage discussion and learning about how to serve customers with disabilities and to change behaviors. What points stood out to you the most? How can you improve service for customers with disabilities? What are some examples of customer service delivered with the principles of dignity, independence, integration, and equality of opportunity? You may want to use the questions posed in this course under the section Serving Customers with Disabilities as a basis for discussion. The Serving Customers with Disabilities section deals with major disabilities. As information about each disability is conveyed in that section, questions are posed to the e-learner. You can use those questions for group discussion, either by going through the course together or posing them after everyone has taken Servability individually. Again, Queen's Printer for Ontario 2008, bottom of page 5. Resources section of e-course Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, published by the Accessibility Directorate of Ontario, Ministry of Community and Social Services. Summary of training requirements under the standard. Review the purpose of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2005. Review of the requirements of the Customer Service Standard. Instruction on how to interact and communicate with people who have various types of disabilities. Instruction on how to interact with people with various types of disabilities who use assistive devices. Instruction on how to use equipment or assistive devices available on your premises or that you otherwise provide that may help with the provision of goods and services to people with disabilities. Instruction about how to interact with people with disabilities who have a guide dog or other service animal. Instruction on how to interact with people with disabilities who are accompanied by a support person when you are providing service to them. Instruction on what to do if a person with a disability is having difficulty accessing your services. Training on your policies, practices, and procedures relating to customer service standard. And the symbol of Ontario. Bottom page 6, copyright Queen's Printer for Ontario 2008. Resource section of the e-course, Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, published by the Accessibility Directorate of Ontario, Ministry of Community and Social Services. So, because this is a printer of Ontario 2008, it says that they've definitely been aware of all this stuff since 2005 and are required to have it. This is the end user agreement. Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service online course. This end user agreement or agreement is a legal agreement that governs the use of the online course Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, the course. Owned by the Government of Ontario and developed by the Ministry of Community and Social Services, the Ministry. The course is a software product which includes computer software and may include but is not limited to embedded media content, materials, photographs, graphic assets, printed materials, and audio story. The purpose of this product is to give organizations obligated to meet Ontario Regulation 42907, the Customer Service Standard, under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2005, AODA, basic information and training on serving customers with disabilities. Users of the course agree to abide by the conditions and terms of this agreement. Conditions and terms of use. As a condition of your use of the course, you warrant that you will not use it for any unlawful purpose or any purpose prohibited by its terms and conditions. The Ministry may change, modify, and update this agreement from time to time. Continued use of the course constitutes your acceptance of these changes, modifications, or updates. The Ministry may make changes to the course or remove the course from their website without notice. The example scenarios and people depicted in the course are fictitious. No association with any real organization, business, product, or person is intended or should be inferred. The information in the course is not legal advice and should not be relied on to make decisions with respect to your obligations under AODA or the Customer Service Standard. Copyright. This e-learning module, Servability Transforming Ontario's Customer Service, is protected by Crown copyright, which is held by the Queen's Printer for Ontario. The course may be reproduced for non-commercial, not-for-profit purposes on the condition that credit is given and that copyright acknowledged and all other conditions are met. The module may only be reproduced for commercial purpose under a license from Queen's Printer of Ontario. Privacy. As per the privacy statement located on this website, no personal information such as records of taking the course of the test results are recorded by the Ministry of Community and Social Services. Copyright Queen's Printer for Ontario 2008. Okay, that's the end of that document. And that's the end of resources, I guess. Go ahead and feel free to do and whatever. But that's the servability. That is servability. See, here we are. Servability. Home tag, same place. And right back to the thing. So I just ended up taking the servability, Transforming Ontario's Customer Service. This is that infamous quiz that everybody was telling me about from Human Rights Ontario that they were made to take. Now, this took considerably longer because I've been doing talking and explaining through it. But basically, again, it states, this course will help better serve customers with disabilities. It will take approximately 45 minutes to complete. That's for the average customer service person. Decision makers completing the course should set aside about 20 additional minutes. So they feel that 65 minutes is more than enough for their customer service reps that are in the public service sector. And they're not even meeting their own standards. They definitely didn't meet their guideline, guideline as far as what they're supposed to have required in place. And we're going to be requiring to look at their reports. What do they call that? For documentation. Anyway, I hope you found this informative. Sorry it took so long to go through it. It's been a very tedious process, but anyway, a lot of questions should be asked about this. I hope this is meant to be educational. It's meant to bring you through it. Again, I invite you, go to the website, take it yourself, see what's there. It's incomplete. There's mistakes in the information, contradictions in the information, especially compared to the legislation. and nobody's checking it. So the thing is they ought to have compatibility. What is it? Compatibility reports or whatever. Sorry, what's it called? Under relevant legislation. Well, this is all the relevant legislation. There's 715 results found. So we won't try that because I don't think we have enough time for that. Oh, there's the Ontario Human Rights Code. And there's a Canada Human Rights Code as well. Human Rights Code. Freedom from discrimination. Interpretation application. Ontario Human Rights Commission. Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. Human Rights Legal Support Center. I have a whole recording of dealing with trying to deal with Human Rights Legal Support Center, where they actually were claiming they were helping me out and they did nothing. When I made any complaints about it, they just shut it down. And I guess that's, like I said, well, you can hear it for yourself when I release the tape, because it's a matter of when I release it. It's not a matter of if anymore. Because people need to hear for themselves exactly what kind of work the government's doing to screw everybody. They're lying sacks of shite. And it is time that we make our own party, grassroots, independent citizens party all around the world for whatever country you're in. Take all your support away from every other political party. You put it towards the Independent Citizens Party. And with one person, one vote, majority will rule. We will decide our future based on true democracy. And we can kick them in the ass and the nuts once and for all to say enough is enough with this campaign of greed and we're better than everybody else, or the privileged. Again, things like honor and privilege are things that are earned, not bestowed. When they're bestowed, that's when they start thinking, well, that makes me better than everyone else and above the law. Again, any person who is required to work in government or any kind of governance where there is privilege involved, you need to realize and that the truth is the privilege is that you are supposed to be held to a higher standard than the law, because you are the first representatives of that law. So if you hold everybody else accountable, yet you don't hold up that law at all yourself, Kathleen Wynne, Government of Canada, then it shows that you have no integrity. And with no integrity, you have no real authority, and all you can do is whip around your power. So you know what? It's gotten you this far. I'm done. Don't give a crap. Canada's full of shit. This is nothing but words, and until somebody tells me differently, I'm done. You can see my other video about what I mean about that. Anyway, thank you for your patience. Chris Bacon, the brain injured guy, signing off. Oh, wait a minute, just like there's also accessibility for, before I go, on Human Rights Code, RSO 1990 CH19 is available at https www.ontario.ca/LAWS/STA/90h19, also known as www.ontario.ca/laws/statute/90h19. and that's a small h. And Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, the infamous one. And I invite you to go and read it. This is something you need to educate yourself with. So this one is available at https www.ontario.ca/laws.ca/st/a/t-u-t-e/05 otherwise known as www.ontario.ca/laws/statute/a11, which is the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2005, SO 2005, C11. There's also under regulations under this act, Ontario Regulation 191-11, which is the Integrated Accessibility Standards. Ontario Regulation 43007, exemption from reporting requirements. And Ontario Regulation 42907, accessibility standards for customer service. So again, thank you for your time. I invite you to go find out for yourself, because the only way to know is find out for yourself. Take the time. Most importantly, if you see anybody of a disability or otherwise being assaulted by police or otherwise, pull out your camera and film it and post it to YouTube. Then put it in writing and file out a formal complaint. Find as many other people around there that witness the same incident to get together and make a statement. And let's put a stop to this once and all, because you need to understand, what is it to serve and protect? Because for the last 12 years, the only thing they've been serving and protecting is themselves and all these people that are defying their duty under law, which is all of them are acting in bad faith. So what do you do when it's your government who's acting criminally and in bad faith and there's no place else to go? Then you also, as a person with a disability, find out that the UN, United Nations, highest organization for human rights on the planet, supposedly, themselves touting all these rules and laws, and yet even the UN themselves have no mechanism for a person with a disability of not being able to write it down, with no available resources to be able to tell their story. Because I sent in I wrote down what I was able to. I communicated visually through a video, which has audio as well. So there's no excuse other than they're full of shit. And I'm sorry, but it's time that we start holding them accountable to what they say and promise. And this thing about, well, it's a little too political right now, so I guess what I'll do is I'll just no comment. That is not what you're allowed to do. That is obstruction, especially when you have clearly documented evidence and clear questions as to what you are asking. The only thing the government is interested in is liability, the ability to lie and the ability to cover their ass from getting sued. And they will, and what my experience over the last 12 plus years in Canada has proven is that they will go to any extent, and there's no limit to their impunity, while they point the finger at everybody else and blame everybody else. If that's the style of democracy you want, you can have it. Me, I'm getting out of this country. If this is not fixed now, and I'm not given the rights that I was guaranteed as a person born in Canada, as a citizen of Canada who happens to be disabled, then Canada can go suck ass, because I am done with the lying sack of shit country called Canada. The last 12 years, you guys do all the lip service you want. I know how I've been treated. I know where I am today, and best yet, I can press play. But then none of you guys are interested anyway. You don't want to know the truth. Such a shame. Well, the world is what it is. It is what it is. ISIS is in Europe, and it is what it is in North America. That is the policy of the government. It is what it is, and good luck. We will just fleece you and soak you for all your money trying to get what we were supposed to give you in the first place. Oh, Canada. Anyway, hopefully, if you're here, then that means you're trying to educate yourself. So that hopefully doesn't include you. Democracy, responsibility for how others are treated. That is the responsibility of everyone. Government's the first one to sit there and say, "Oh, it's provincial government. Oh, it's this government. It's that government." Point the finger everywhere else except for take responsibility. This is a gross lack of leadership. There is nobody who is taking the responsibility to do what is necessary to stop this mess, because the bottom line is this. The other thing I learned over the 13 years is whether right or wrong, whether abusive or not, they get paid. It costs thousands of dollars to have a judge and reporters and recorders and a clerk and the lawyers and the witnesses and everything just for one courtroom. So for the last year now, they've all been getting paid, same as they did for the last 12 years with WSIB and the healthcare system. They all got paid discussing my stuff where I got absolutely no benefit. If anything, I got worse benefit. I was like, the record speaks for itself, as does my videos. So keep your lip service to yourself. Kathleen Wynne, Justin Trudeau, both attorney generals. There is no doubt in my mind that both governments and most Westminster governments are there to do one thing: fool the people into thinking that you have any kind of power at all, while they squeeze and milk you dry of every single asset or aspect that you can bring to raise yourself up. It is a fact. The American dream and the Canadian dream and the Australian dream and every other dream out there, really funny that the only way that their whole story works is if you're in a dream. And just forget about the things that are happening in real time. Well, this isn't a dream, it's a nightmare. And some people are waking up to it, other people would rather stay asleep. Good for you. You get exactly what you deserve. But you know what, personally, I'm finished. And anybody out there who doesn't take the proper stand of standing up to this tyranny, this out and out fraud, theft, and most of all, betrayal, deliberate betrayal of the public trust in order to set up exploitive situations to milk the system for fining people for them not doing their job. So if that's your division, if that's your version of democracy, you're welcome to it. That is not democracy. That is cowards allowing totalitarian, evil, capitalistic, greedy bastards to run the show. And one quick question about one quick observation about capitalism. Capitalism and every other ism isn't the problem. There's only one problem: greed coupled with privilege. Those who believe they are above the law, that they are better than everyone else, and for some reason they don't have to work as hard as everyone else unless it's that they got patted on the back for working really hard at stealing. And then they put down a general laborer, and people get hurt on the job as lazy and all they want is welfare. You know, that should say a lot about their attitude. And like Daenerys Stormborn, you know what? They need us to make this world work. Let's pull a Gandhi. Everybody sit down at once and tell them to go to hell. Take a week off. Spend it with your family. Make sure your food's all stocked up and you got things to last for a few weeks. And I guarantee you, if we did that in rolling strikes all around the world, we would end this once and for all. If it's coupled with true democracy of citizens getting together, pull all support and money from any other of these governments, because these parties within government, because how many years do you need to have it demonstrated to see that we are not getting what we are required to get and what we've been promised on any regard, especially when it comes to the division of wealth. And this comes down to one basic question. What is a human being worth? Well, these are all personal things you have to answer. And you know what? I don't give a shite about where you guys are, because there's only one way to do this. And this is it. So, we're making out the call. One person, one vote, true democracy rules. We decide what we want. If we all decide there's no war, guess what? When the majority gets in, we just raise our hand, and guess what? There's no more war. If we take those $80 billion and that, or whatever they're spending on armaments, and shift them over to social policies instead, then it would be more equality for everybody and less problems, and you would have less need of security. It's about the balance of power and the balance of abuse. And do you want 2,000 years of kissing the devil to remain in play? Or let's rise up and do the right thing and change it, because we have the right to change it. It's the only way it's going to get done. Anyway, again, this is meant as educational for this modules. The whole thing is meant to spur on conversation, to initiate conversation and dialogue, to hopefully get people working together to find solutions, real solutions that work for everybody. Because obviously all this conflict and not getting it right is costing a lot of money too. So it's not just an economic factor, but at the same time, it's a fact that people with a disability and other persons who are stripped of their resources need to have available something that's available for them, so that they are not just dismissed because they can't afford to fight for the rights that they're required to have, because they're inherent. It's in the Constitution. They're just saying, well, those are just words on a paper. We'll do what we want. And then if you want to hold us to it, then just hire a lawyer. If you can afford one, have them write it down for you properly, if you can get them to do it, and then see us in court. Oh, I'm tired. And you can't live in silence anymore. Anybody who does not rise up on the benefit of all humankind, and especially to speak out against this obvious, deliberate wrongdoing, again, whether by error, omission, or deliberate, doesn't matter. The fact that it exists and is obstructive and is undermining the very fabric of all democracy around the world. You have citizens blaring out with great pride how Supreme Court justices are biased one way or another, how political parties serve certain demographics and not others. You know, you want it to continue like this, then keep going the way it is. The only way you get change is to change. And using one person, one vote, true democratic system from the grassroots, not from the top down. We're talking bottom up. We can make this world into whatever we want. We are the majority. Time to step up and prove it. And we can do this through nonviolent means. It's simple. Matter of fact, you know what? They want violence. They want violence. They want the chaos. They want everything the way it is, because that's why they set it up to be this way. So, no violence. We'll do it their way. We get together and we all, there's one thing, everybody's going like, but how do we get it together? There's one thing that we all have in common. This system, as it stands today, has to go. And we all have that thing in common. We must take this hijacked system of democracy and throw it out on its ass. One person, one vote, majority rules. I invite you to join me wherever you are. We are the most powerful force on the earth, and they know it. That's why, if you check every Western democratic, especially under Westminster style of governance, all the push is against registering the voter, proper registration of voters. Because if you have no registration and they interfere with the way that you're able to be registered to vote and or vote, then they will always win. And that's their advantage. And for a government that claims to stand for democracy and be there for the people, well, you got a lot of explaining to do. But you know what? I'm tired of their talking. I don't know if you guys are. You want to, I mean, in the States, you want another president like that? I mean, say, no matter where you are, Britain, Canada, United States, they're all run by the same people for the same benefit. They have negated our voice, and it's time for us to step up. If you can't stand up for democracy, then get the fuck out of the way. Anyway, this is Chris Bacon, the brain injured guy, disabled, Canadian. Hoping this finds everybody safe and fine, and that at least you decide that you're going to do something about what's going on. Time to step up. I hope to see you out there. Anyway, I hope this information has been informative for you. Helps you to get to where you're going and meet your own regulations. And keep up the good fight. Bye.